So that's the first version of the answer, right? And then we call this one a nested version. Nested. How do you say that? Nested. Nested version, all right? Because we have an if statement inside this if statement. And we have another if statement inside this if statement. So we call it a nested version. But for this version, there is a way to make it shorter. There's a new word. Don't look it up in a dictionary because you might not be able to find it. So this is a word created by programming languages like Python. There's a new word called elif. This is a new word created by computer languages like Python, all right? Which is actually two words, else if, all right? They make it a short like combine these two words into one like elif. So how does it work? It's pretty easy. If a else is followed by an if, then you can actually combine these two into one word, call it elif, all right? Just like this. However, remember, this else has to align with an if to determine when this else clause will be executed. All right, like this else. This else is aligned with this if. So this print is only executed when this is false. All right, but there's no if this else is aligned with. So this will cause some confusion for Python. Before we change this else is aligned with this if. All right, that means it starts at the same position. Like this one, this if start at column 5. On the lower right hand corner, you will see this COL5. That's column 5. All right, and this E, this else, and this E, the first letter E, also starts at the position of column 5. That means these two are aligned. And so when is this else clause be executed? Then only when this conditional statement is not true. That means it is false. Only when it is false. All right. But when you combine these two together, and then this else will have nothing to align with. Therefore, you need to unindent. That's what we call it. Unindent this part to have this else aligned with this if. Okay, is there any question? So when it is the same thing that when this else is followed by this if, and then we can combine these two words into one, which is elif again. And this time we also need to unindent this part of the code so that this else will align with one if, like this. Okay? So this one is actually exactly the same, works exactly the same as the previous version, but it uses elif. Okay, it uses elif. So this is elif function, elif edition of the code. Okay, elif. Any question? And there's nothing new. This is exactly the same. All right. And now I'm going to show you the third version of this program. All right. As you can see, there are actually 4 parts of the areas. The first area is the white area outside the large circle. And the second area is this blue part, which is inside the large circle and outside of the median circle. All right. And the third part is this white part inside the median circle and outside this small circle. Okay. And the fourth part is this blue part, which is inside the little circle. Okay. So can we do it one by one separately by 4 if statements instead of 1? That's how we do it. Excuse me. If we simply delete this else, el, and make it an if, this is actually syntactically correct. This is actually syntactically correct, which means you can run this code, you can run this program. However, it is not going to be, you are not going to get the right answer as you expected. If you don't believe me, let's try it. Let's try to run it so that you will be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, run module. And this time, no, this is not where I want to save it. Okay, for instance, if I type in 2020, it will say a leap year. Well, which is right. And let's run it again. And this time we're going to type in 2021. And it will give you 2 answers instead. First time you will say it's a normal year, which is right. But now on the second line you will say it's a leap year, which is wrong. All right. So why is that? Why is that? It's because when you see that 2021 is not a multiple of 4, it will print out a normal year. However, because we deleted this L, that means when you have this L and make it elif, this will only be executed when this is false. However, if you delete the L out of this elif, then this if statement will be executed anyway, no matter if this statement is true or not. This if will be executed. So after this is printed, it will see 2021 is not a multiple of 100. Oh, no, it's not. Then it will print out a leap year again. So this is wrong. This is wrong. So what do? we have to, before we can say this is a leap year, we have to say two things. We have to make sure two things. Not only that it is outside of the medium circle, we also have to make sure it is inside the large circle. So how do you make sure? Y divided by 4 and get the remainder is equal to 0. All right, now we have two statements right here. The first statement, to make sure it's inside the big circle. And the second statement right there, second conditional expression, we'll make sure it's outside of the medium circle. So when we have these two statements together to make sure this is inside the, this is between these two circles, and then it is the blue part, which is a leap year. All right. However, this won't work. If you run it, it will say this is invalid syntax. All right. It is not allowed for you to put two conditional expressions in one if statement. All right. It is not allowed for you to do that. You can only put one. Why can you only put one conditional statement, conditional expression here after if? It is simple. If these two agree, that means if the first part is true, the second part is true, and then we'll do the statements under it. That's fine. If none of them is true, the first part is false and the second part is also false, then we won't do it. That's fine too. What if one is true and the other one is false? Are you going to do it or not? So they will cause some confusion if they don't agree, if they are different. All right? So we need to have something to combine two true or false into one. All right? We need to have two things, something to combine these two into one. Let me let's see. We can only put one value. Huh. For instance, 1, 2, 3 is a value. 4, 5, 6 is another value. All right? But sometimes you won't be able, in some parts of the computer language, like Python, you won't be able to put two values. It will take only one value. And what are you going to do? In those cases, you can do a lot of different things, like you can add them together and make it into one. Let's see. Like if you have two values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can add them together and combine the two values into one. You can also do a multiplication of these two values and then combine these two values into one. This will combine these two values into one with different operations. All right? But now, when you have two not a mathematical value. It's those are the logical value, true and false. What do you do to combine 2 into 1? You need something else. Can we do a multiplication right here? A true times false, can we do it? What do you think? Can we do it? Theoretically, no. Theoretically, no. However, if you insist to do it, Python will think, I cannot do this for you. I cannot do a multiplication of 2 logical values. Therefore, I will convert logical values into integers before I can do a multiplication. So a true will be converted into 1, and a false will be converted into a 0. Then do the multiplication, you will see the results will be 0, something like that. Okay, but this is not actually what you expect. So what do? I'm going to show you a new set, a new category of operators. I have already told you that there is the first time that I told you there's a mathematical Do I spell it right? No, I don't think so. Mathematical. Is that right? Mathematical operators. All right. Okay. Then there are 7 of them. What are those? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, integral division, and remainder, modular, all right? And then exponential. So we have 7 of them, all right? And later on, I have told you that we have another one of the comparative. Comparative, or sometimes we'll call it relative, relational. I'm not sure about this one. Let's leave the comparative over there. Comparative operators. And I have told you, I have taught 6 of them. What are those? Greater than, less than, and greater or equal than, less or equal than, equal to, and not equal to. 6 comparative operators, all right? But now I'm going to teach you. 2 more operators. These are logical operators. And today I'm going to show you 2 of them, all right? And or, all right? And means like, and means only when these 2 logical values are both true, it will give you true. Either of them is false, then will give you false. All right? It's something like this. If you have let me draw another picture. How do I skip to the next page? How do I do it? See here, we are going to have a next page break. We call it a page break. Okay? This is a page break. And then I'm going to one circle. And then we are going to have another circle. Okay, then we call this A. What am I doing? Maybe I want to make it bigger, like 36. And we call this A. And we call this B. And then what's this inside? If it is both in A and in B, then it is a yes. 对，不好意思，我在这儿。Huh. So how do I make this? Do you know what I'm talking about? I will fix it later. I don't want to see these two. So this is A and B. And how do I all right, that's good. All right, that's good. This is so hard to use. Alright, if this circle is A and this circle is B, and then this part, how do I fill up this part? Do you know how I can do it? This is so hard. Alright, I will try to do it later on after the break. Alright? So this is A and B. So it will give you true only when both of the logical value is true. It will give you like this. True and true. It will give you true. But if either of them is false, then it will give you false. True and false. It will give you false. Or false and true. It will also give you false. Not to mention if you have two falses. Then will give you false. Only when both of them are true, it will give you true. So this one can combine two true or false values into one. So we can actually add and in between. So this will give you a true or false. This will give you a second true or false. And will combine these two logical values into one. And only when it is both of them are true, this will give you true. And this string will be printed. So only when it is inside the big circle and it is outside the medium circle, it will say it's a leap year. And the same thing right here. If you delete this L, you can also do the same thing. You can make sure it's inside the middle circle by making sure it is a multiple of 100 and it is not a multiple of 400. Then you will say it's an exception made by Pope Gregory. And say it is a normal year. And the last part, if it is inside the little circle, then it is not one of the exception year. Why? Mod 400 divided by 400, the remainder is 0. Then it's a leap year. This is also the third version of the answer that I'm going to give you. All right? This is not shorter than the second version. The second version is elif version is actually the shortest version so far. All right, but this is also a correct answer. If you would like to put it on, or maybe let me include this version of the answer. Let me include this version of the answer in. Comparative. All right. Now, I'm going to introduce the fourth version. And I hope I can finish this lesson, this problem.
How many versions does this program have?
4.
4.
This is the third version. I'm going to give you the fourth version, which is the last version of it. All right? But I would like to save this version first. Save this version, and then save as extreme version, final version. I'm going to give you the final version of it. Okay, before I can give you a final version of it, I will ask you another question. If I have two sentences like this, can you combine these two sentences into one? What are the sentences? I'll bring an umbrella with me. If it is raining. And the second sentence will say, I'll bring an umbrella. Maybe we don't need it with me. So I make it shorter, all right? If it is reported to be raining, to rain. All right? Can you combine these two sentences into one? Can you? Does anyone want to do that for me? Combine these two sentences into one sentence. No one would like to do that?
I'll bring an umbrella if it is raining or it is reported to rain.
Exactly. All right, we can combine these two. And all right, exactly. Look carefully. This is a condition. This is another condition. We can combine these two conditions with an OR operator if the statements, the thing that we are going to do is exactly the same. All right. Let me let's look at the code here. If this is true, let me do this first. The thing that we do, the thing that we pronounce when this is true is exactly the same as the thing that we pronounce when this is true, right? So can we combine these two into one? It is the same thing right here. We can copy this one and put it at the end. And look at here, we have this OR in between to combine these two conditions. So we also put an OR right there to combine these two, this one and this one. Is it okay with you? Okay. When we finish doing this, then we can delete this if statement right there. So we combine two if statements into one. And you can notice that this OR is in the color of orange, right? So it is actually a reserved keyword, reserved word. And that's because it is one of the logical operators like AND. All right? AND is a logical operator. OR is also a logical operator. So you can use it to combine these statements and this statement. Combine these two statements into one. These two conditional expressions into one expression. All right? And like we done before, we can do it again. All right? The thing that we do here, when this is true, is exactly the same that we do right here when this is true. All right? So we can also copy this thing right there. And put it right here. And then we'll have a OR to combine these two. Then we can delete this one. All right? And the last step that we are going to take is that, look carefully, this condition is exactly the opposite of the second one. How do we know it? Look, when it's equal up here, it's not equal down there. It's not equal up here, it's equal down here. When it's equal up here, it's not equal down here. Exactly the opposite. And also when it is AND right here, it is OR right here. And this is OR here, and it is AND down here. We call this is a law, we call it De Morgan's law. De Morgan's law. And according to De Morgan's law, the condition up here is exactly the opposite of the condition down here. In this case, we can skip the second condition by using what? By using an else. All right? So this is the fourth version. The fourth version that I'm going to give you. All right, the last version. And this one is the shortest one. Maybe not the easiest one, but it is the shortest one. We have only one complicated condition right here. In this conditional expression, we have actually three mathematical operators, 1, 2, 3, and three comparative, 1, 2, 3, and two logical operators, 1, 2. So we have 8 operators in total. 8 operators in total. 3 mathematical operators, 3 comparative operators, and 2 logical operators. We have 8 in total. All right. So this is a pretty complicated expression. However, this is the shortest code that you can get when you are deciding, when you are trying to determine if a year is a leap year or a normal year. All right? Is there any question? So this is actually the fourth version of it, and you can actually know how to use it. And today, the major thing that I want to know about is this AND and OR. All right. The new idea that has been introduced to you in this class is logical operators. So we have 3 types of the operators: mathematical, comparative, and logical operators. And you have seen them all in this one single expression. That is so cool. All right, is there any question? If you don't have any questions, and then this will be it for today, and I will put all these 4 versions in the slides, and also the one that you asked for, and in the slides later on when we have a break. All right, any question? If you don't have any, then I will and then if you don't have any, and then this will be it for today.